He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place where you're not overly ostentatious studios of 365 Sports here in beautiful New York City. Welcome on into another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. You could always get at me on the good old cesspool of Twitter or on Instagram where I'm straight flexing at Zach Gelb. You could also follow me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. And most importantly, youtube.com/@365sportsyt. youtube.com/@365sportsyt. Make sure you subscribe. So yesterday is one of the all-time sports moments. And I've been at sporting events where you walk out of the building and you have no clue how the final result was the result that it was. I remember walking out of Houston in a celebratory mood when the Patriots came back from down 28-3 against the Atlanta Falcons. I was stunned. I couldn't believe that they won the game. At least there, though, in football, you could reference, let's say, Dante Hightower with the sack. Yeah, James White, right, with the touchdown. There's things that you could recall on how you got there. With college basketball, and really basketball in a whole, it's different. Because you could have a team yesterday like Duke that's cruising, that's up 19, and late, even when UConn makes it within striking distance of them getting a comeback, until Braylon Mullins hit that shot, you don't think UConn is going to win the game. And I remember last year being in San Antonio when Duke was playing Houston, and it was a 7 or a 9-point lead with 45 seconds to go. And I remember walking out of the building as a talk show host, not being able to speak because I was trying to process what I just witnessed and what I just saw. And I was trying to tell people or think to myself, how did Houston come back to beat Duke? And I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. And sure, yesterday there's an iconic moment. Iconic moment with that shot from Mullins. But how did UConn come on back? Like, yeah, I remember Tarris Reed having a really good game. I remember Caravan late hitting a 3. But UConn winning that game, even when I say it today, there's like a voice that goes off in my head that go, how? Like, how did UConn do it to Duke? And that's where I'm at today, even 3 minutes after 2 o'clock here on the East Coast, where I was watching the game yesterday, and it's 2 years in a row when Duke loses. Last year I was in the building. This year I was on my couch, where I just don't know how they did it. And sure, there's a few similarities with this Duke team compared to last year's Duke team, but the main piece is outside of Scheyer, the head coach. Like, Knippel's not on that team anymore. Cooper Flagg's not on that team anymore. But it's kind of surreal that Duke's going to have the back-to-back player of the year in college basketball. And last year, you choke away a lead in the Final Four with the spot in the national championship on the line. And this year, you gag away a spot to the Final Four when you were playing an Elite Eight game. Like, that is a moment yesterday where if you didn't have a dog in the fight, and when Alex Caravan, who was on the show, by the way, last week, passes the ball up to Braylon Mullins, and Mullins hits that shot from Chef Curry range and then some, you're just screaming, whoa! Like, I can't believe it. Wow. And that was me yesterday. I didn't have a dog in the fight. Actually, in my bracket, it would help me if Duke would have won. But and like even there, I had UConn plus the points yesterday, and I had Michigan minus the points. It wasn't until an hour after the game where I sat there and I said, "Oh yeah, I want to bet," because there's just a certain moment in sports that when you're watching something, that when you're witnessing an all-time moment, that it just kind of paralyzes the rest of your body. And it basically shuts off your brain for a bit. And anything else outside of that shot going in, UConn winning, Duke losing. 2 years in a row, back-to-back years, Duke, arguably the best team in the NCAA tournament. You could argue last year they were the best team in the NCAA tournament. They lost in the Final Four to Houston. This year going in, you could argue they're the best team in the NCAA tournament, even after the first weekend with the injuries and it not being up to Duke's standard. For most of that game, they were dominating, kicking the snot out of UConn. And when we get ready for the Final Four at the end of this week, it's going to be UConn and Illinois, not Duke and Illinois. It's going to be UConn and Illinois, and whoever wins that game will be off to the championship game on Monday night in Lucas Oil Stadium, and they will take on the winner of the two best teams remaining in this tournament, in my estimation, in Michigan and Arizona. Garrett, I don't think it makes for the best content. I don't think it makes for the best segment I've ever done in my career, because I still don't even know how to process what I saw yesterday, because it's like, okay, you tell me 2 + 2 = 4, right? UConn played Duke. UConn won a game that they probably should have lost, but I'm seeing there what the final result is, and I'm like, that math doesn't, like, how did we get to that spot where throughout the second half, and when I'm in the final few minutes, like, I'm sitting there saying, all right, like, I'm good for a story. I'm great. I'm all game for a great comeback. And I'm sitting there, and at the end, I go, yeah, I know that there was the 10 seconds left, and all Duke had to do was hold on to the ball, but they threw the ball, it gets deflected, and Carabin passes it over to Mullins, and I know the shot went in, and I'm looking at the scoreboard, and I see that UConn is up by 1, and I'm like, someone messed my I just watched the game. I don't know how we got there.
No, it was baffling, honestly. There was the timeout before Danny Hurley got the crowd hyped, where they were coming back on the floor and the camera went to Carabin. And in my mind, dude, I'm looking at that like he's thinking this is the last time I'm ever going to play for Danny Hurley. And all I could think about was him talking about what Hurley meant to us last week on the show. So that's where I was like, damn, man, this is brutal right here for them. And then methodically, slowly, UConn starts working their way back into it. And it's one of those situations where I don't know if Duke got a little too comfortable, but coaching became a factor, and you saw why Danny Hurley is arguably the best coach in the nation right now. He got his kids completely buy in. They didn't quit. And, dude, like when you needed to get scrappy, they did everything imaginable to win that game.
Yeah, but even so, for example, anytime you thought UConn was going to come on back,
Duke would push
Boozer would just bully you, and he would make a shot right in front of the basket. And even late, there was an instance where UConn was missing some free throws.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there saying, all right, give them a valiant effort. Like I had the tweet ready to go. Right. Valiant effort by UConn. Carabin, even though he didn't have a good game, he got going late. He left it all on the line, and Duke is just Duke. And UConn had an incredible season, but this Duke team, even when they don't play their best, they're still better. And then I'm watching it, and the last play, let's get into it, because I was talking to a longtime basketball coach this morning, and he said to me, 10 seconds left. Obviously, you don't even have to get the ball past half court. If they just hold on to the ball, obviously UConn is going to foul them. You get to the charity stripe, and you probably win the game. I'm thinking the same thing. When the ball is inbounded, I am thinking to myself, 10 seconds. Just get the ball in. But the initial pass, where there was like a little bit of a stumble by Kaden Boozer, I think that set panic. I really think that set panic off in that Duke team, because it's like a game of hot potato. I don't want the basketball. I don't want the basketball. I don't want the basketball. Where all you had to do was hold on to the basketball. But pressure with youngsters in March Madness, it's almost undefeated. And that's what you saw. And then that ball got passed around, and Kaden Boozer has it. And I know all he has to do is hold on to the basketball, but in his mind, he sees two players wide open. And like, look at Illinois and look at some of these other teams that have won games late. Sorry, not Illinois, Flogaris with Iowa that have won games late, and they just break free and they're open up against Florida. Even the other game where the kid hit the three up against Nebraska when Nebraska had 4 guys on the court. So Kaden Boozer has the ball. Yes, if he holds on to it, he gets fouled, and you're going to win the game.
Right.
But he sees 2 guys wide open, and I'm thinking in the moment, even though I know the 10 seconds, I'm like, oh, my God, UConn's not even going to be able to foul. Duke's going to run this out. And then the ball gets tipped, and it goes, Mullins gets it, passes it to Karaban. Karaban just doesn't take a crappy shot. He fires it back to Mullins, who did not hit a 3 before that. He had an offer. And I'll tell you, when Karaban was getting the ball back before that sequence, and they were drawing up a play, I'm like, you probably got to get the ball to him and live and die. And I was about to tweet it out. Or maybe it's someone that's not having a good game like Mullins, who's a freshman, because Karaban said it I remember it on Tuesday. He goes, he's not your typical freshman. No moment phases him. But with the season on the line, with the end of Karaban's career about to happen, that play just works where it's the oldster passing the ball, the youngster passing the ball to Karaban, then Karaban passing the ball back to the youngster, and he drains a 3 of a lifetime. And even if UConn doesn't go on to the championship game, even if they lose to Illinois, or even if you have UConn get to the championship game and they lose to either Michigan or Arizona, that is one of the iconic shots in the history of the NCAA tournament. Like, you look at shots that people remember. There's 3 that come to mind right away. Leitner, you have Chris Jenkins, and then you also have that Jalen Suggs shot from half court. And Gonzaga didn't go on to win the championship game. But every year when March Madness comes around, you see the Leitner shot, you see the Jenkins one that literally won a championship, and then you see that Jalen Suggs shot. That shot by Braylon Mullins, it's obviously in one shining moment. It's obviously right now the memory of the tournament, but that's a shot, even if they don't go on to win the championship, that it's going to get played for years and years and years to come, because for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, it's an iconic shot. Number 2, it is an epic comeback when we're looking at it, and it's one of those moments where you're like, how the F did that happen? And then also number 3, Garrett, it is Duke. And even though Duke is not coached by Mike Krzyzewski anymore, and I can understand why maybe some people don't hate Duke as much as they once did, there's still a lot of people that was like, F that, it's still Duke. And to see them gag away a game like they did after all those years of kicking everybody's ass, to see them the last 2 years lose games in the fashion that they did, there's a lot of people that are happy about it today. And a lot of those people may not even like Dan Hurley, who right now is the face of college basketball.
I think for me personally, that's been one of the most fascinating things is my mindset changed for Dan Hurley. Like a couple of weeks ago, I hated the guy. I couldn't understand him.
I've always liked the guy.
But now I'm like, dude, I would love to play for that dude. He is like, I get it.
He's a maniac.
He's crazy. The cut to his mom where she's like, no fucking way this shot went into the crowd. Like, you can just see everything. But he's definitely somebody you would gravitate to play for. But no, like Duke, you've got to be miserable. Like, this is not the standard. I personally enjoyed it because I'm not a big Duke person, and I'm also sick of seeing the Boozer twins on my TV every damn commercial. So I was kind of happy to see them go down. But, yeah, if you're John Scheyer right now, you've got to be thinking, what did I step into to accept this position? Because am I overshadowed a little bit?
I think a lot of that stuff. I understand what you're saying. I think a lot, and the UNC fans continue to embarrass themselves. Like, oh, well, we lost our coach. At least he got to a championship game. At least he has a win in the Final Four. What about John Scheyer? Don't get me wrong. Duke the last 2 years choked. Yeah. If Duke's getting rid of John Scheyer, how much better are you doing? Like, can you maybe go get Dusty May? Can you maybe go get Tommy Lloyd? Like, yeah, I guess it's a possibility. John Scheyer is going to inevitably win a championship at Duke. And I don't think there's an appetite for by any like former Duke player or any like legitimate Duke fan to get rid of John Scheyer. No. Don't get me he has a choking problem right now because those rosters are totally different. He's the one constant. Is he ultimately responsible for everything that happens at Duke? Yes. Am I really pinning that loss on him yesterday? No. Like, even if he and it looks like he wanted that pass to go through, sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. And how many times, and it doesn't always work this way, but how many times have we seen a coach just get there and lose, and then eventually they get the monkey off their back? Now, you could also be Kyle Shanahan, where you get there, you lose, you get there, you lose, you get there, they lose, and we're looking there, you don't have a championship as a head coach. Right. But with the rosters that he's had, I got to think eventually John Scheyer is going to win a championship at Duke. I look at Hubert Davis at UNC. Outside of that first year, I never thought that guy was winning a championship at UNC. So it is totally different, even though you'll look at it and UNC fans will be like, oh, we blew a 19-point lead to VCU in the first round. John Scheyer blew it in the Final Four. John Scheyer blew it in the lead. And I know people are going to say the first year, Hubert Davis blew the lead at halftime of the championship game. But Hubert Davis never got UNC back to looking like that team. Mm-hmm. And you look at Duke, the last 2 years, I entered the tournament last year thinking Duke was the best team in the country. I entered the tournament this year, as much as great respect I have for Michigan and Arizona, and I didn't pick Duke to win the championship because of how tough their draw was. But, I still had them going to the Final Four and then losing. But I got to think that eventually Scheyer is going to win a championship. But, man, I'll tell you this, Garrett. Last year, if you would have told me when I was walking out of San Antonio, that building, that the next year Duke would gag away a game again and it would be more stunning, I wouldn't. But, like, last year, I talk for a living. I'm a bloviating jackass. I couldn't talk last year walking out of the building because I was stunned. Stunned what I just saw. I couldn't believe what I just saw. And this year, what happened last year pales into comparison to what happened this year. This year was more stunning. I watched the entire damn game. I can't tell you right now, outside of the fact that Mullins hit that shot after Boozer made the pass, how UConn won that game. It's wild to me. I was in shock. I was in awe. And back-to-back years, Duke, they choked in the big spot. Back-to-back years. And I can't tell you how it happened last year. I can't tell you how it happened this year, but it happened. And now UConn is off to the Final Four with a gulp against Illinois. Whoever wins that game will get the matchup of the two best teams right now in the NCAA tournament in Michigan and Arizona. And it just shows you, if UConn's going to go down, and if the career of Alex Caravan's going to, go down in UConn, and it's going to come to a close, it's going to take everything that you got. Because if you're being honest, if you're being transparent, should UConn have won that game yesterday? No, they shouldn't have, but they did. And still, Garrett, I don't have a damn clue. No. I don't have a damn clue where that lead was. And even watching it down the stretch, and just when you thought UConn was going to do it, all right, Duke answers back. How Duke lost that game yesterday. If you're expecting the sports talk shows to explain it to you, I got nada for you. Nothing. Find another show.
Yeah, dude, it's one of those things that you're not going to be able to put into words. I feel for Duke fans. I think we've all been in these situations where our teams have just completely choked. But at the same time, UConn, what they're doing right now is just different, man. You've won 2 championships. You're always in the mix. When you're counted down, you're counted out. You're in a conference that everybody has forgotten about, and you still find ways to show up and win in the biggest moments. It's remarkable. And hats off to Danny Hurley, what he's been able to put together there up at Stores.
And I effing love Danny Hurley.
He's a trip, dude.
Maybe it's because I'm a Northeast guy And I know what his father did at St. Anthony's, right? And I saw him coach at Rhode Island when I was at Temple, and his brother, who's another maniac, Bobby Hurley, was on the sidelines. And we know what Bobby obviously accomplished in college at Duke, right? It's just a great basketball family. And is he a nut, Dan Hurley? Absolutely. Is he a psycho? Is he crazy? You know, even after they hit the shot, he's trying to hear what the referee's saying, and he goes nose to nose with the referee. Sure, but this is college sports. This is what it is. Especially in college basketball, the coaches are still the face of the sport.
Yes.
And Dan Hurley right now is the face of the sport, and thank God, because college basketball needed it, that he didn't run to the NBA, because I don't think he would have been a fit in the pros. I don't think he would be a great coach in the NBA. But in college basketball, UConn with Jim Calhoun was a force. Force. They became a blue blood, though, really under Dan Hurley, because sure, Kevin Ollie won a championship there, basically, with Calhoun's players.
Right.
And then it got ugly. It got really ugly for UConn. And then Hurley, I remember that one clip. He's like, you better get us now if you can, because we're coming. So get us now when you can. And what he's been able to do now, his third trip to the Final Four as a head coach, has already won 2 championships back-to-back. Then last year they lose in the, right before the Sweet 16 in the round of 32. And this year they're in the Final Four. This dude, it's his sport right now. It doesn't mean they're going to go on to win. Could it be Tommy Lloyd's time? Yes, Arizona's a remarkable team. Could it be Dusty May's time? And how about Dusty May? Now 2 trips to the Final Four, one at FAU, the other one at Michigan. Brad Underwood is such an underappreciated coach. Yep. It's good after his limitation was the Elite Eight to see them get to the Final Four. And I'm sitting there right now, though, and I just love this guy, Dan Hurley, because, I didn't even need to watch the game. Just put a camera on him. He's awesome. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. I know some of you dopey UNC fans, we wouldn't want Dan Hurley. He's an a-hole. Oh, shove it. If you brought put it this way, Dan Hurley isn't everybody's cup of tea. He becomes your coach, though. People that hate him, when he starts winning and he starts with his antics, you would absolutely love him, because at the end of the day, we're all addicted to winning, and that guy just wins.
No, it really does. I have a question for you. You covered and called a lot of Big Ten games this year.
Yeah.
Right? Illinois being where they're at. Did you see this coming at
no.
all? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the last few years, they've had big foreign players.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that they had an excellent also freshman in Keaton Wagler this year. Mm-hmm. But did I expect Illinois when we started the tournament? I looked at it. I said Houston, Illinois. And I said, could Illinois win this game? Yeah, but if they win, they probably won't beat Florida. I thought their ceiling was going to be an Elite Eight this year. But, I've said this, about other teams in this tournament, where when you're looking at the bracket, you go, maybe it will be this guy's year when you least expect it. Mm-hmm. And you look at Brad Underwood, they had years of Kofi Coburn and Ayo Dosunmu. You remember that year where they were the 1 seed? And they lost in the round of 32 to Loyola Chicago. They've had really good teams, and they keep on chipping away. Stojakovic is a heck of a story, and I grew up loving Peja Stojakovic. Now to see his kid kind of shows me how old the two of us are, which is a scary thing. But no, that game up against Houston, if you look back at it, I'm not surprised that they beat Iowa. I thought they were going to win the game. But that game up against Houston, what do we talk about? It's going to be the defense of Houston. That was going to be the difference. No, the defense was actually the difference for Illinois, and their size, too.
That's the thing.
That's the big part. So I would be lying to you if I said, I expected Illinois should be in the Final Four. No, I thought they would be at best an Elite Eight team. So for them to go maybe a round further than what I thought their apex is, and maybe they go on to the championship game and maybe they win it all. If you're asking me to rank these teams right now, I think Arizona, Michigan's a flip of the coin.
Well,
I really do. I guess. This pains me. I think it's a flip of the coin. I think I give the slight edge to Arizona right now. Arizona, Michigan, you could change the 2. Then I think most people think UConn's 3, and then Illinois is 4. But I haven't looked at the spreads yet.
Right.
Arizona, Michigan. Who do you think's the favorite?
I think Arizona would still be the favorite.
I think it's going to be a 1-point spread.
It's going to be close. Yeah, it's going to be super tight.
Man, I'm going to say since Michigan had a cleaner game, they just eviscerated Tennessee. Like Arizona had to come back against Purdue. I'm going to say Michigan's a 1-point favorite. I'll look at it in a second. What do you think UConn? I'm going to say UConn is a 4.5-point favorite, 5.5.
Yeah, I was thinking 3.5 for UConn.
All right, let me pull it up here. Let me go scores, ESPN. Illinois, no way.
They got the favorite?
Wait, really? Illinois is a 2.5-point favorite.
Ooh.
And Michigan's a 1.5-point favorite.
The Michigan one makes sense. Illinois, though, that's intriguing.
That's begging you to.
Yeah.
Begging you.
Yeah.
Begging you to bet UConn. If I had to just look at the spread, I'm not saying these are my picks for the week, to be clear. But if I was just looking at the spread, my first instinct would be we're having an Illinois-Arizona national championship game.
Dude, that'd be insane.
Where, quite frankly, I don't think I'm going to pick either one of those teams. I don't know if I am. But, geez, this tournament, does it have like the most legendary moments that we've seen in the tournament? No. But there have just been the Nebraska Vanderbilt ending, is one that comes to mind. Obviously, VCU beating UNC, High Point, and all that craziness. Kentucky. I remember when that the kid had the half-court shot. What we saw, though, last night, that looked like we were going to get a dud of an Elite Eight Sunday because Michigan just embarrassed Tennessee. And, hey, like I said the same thing about what I just said about Brad Underwood.
Right.
Rick Barnes, okay, maybe this could be the year he gets to the Final Four when you least expect it because most people thought that team at most could be an Elite Eight team. Well, Michigan just pantsed them. But how UConn came on back and they beat Duke, and I can't even tell you how it happened. Oh, my God. How about the play? I didn't get your thoughts in the 10 seconds to go. Obviously, they don't have to inbound. They don't have to get the ball past half court, and the clock could have ran out. They would have got fouled. But I understand how panic sets in. And once Boozer initially got that pass, Cam, once he gets that pass and he stumbled for a second, I just think the pressure hot potato game really just played on out there.
Yeah, to me, it was like once the ball got there and they put the trap on the second Boozer, to me, it was like he was looking for his own Christian Laettner moment when he was looking to throw it. But that was utter chaos. I think that a lot of people could sit here and they could talk crap about that situation, how it unfolded. But until you're in that moment, dude, and you're facing that, you don't know how you're going to react.
And that's the thing.
So I feel bad for him, honestly.
And the kid's a freshman, and he answered all the questions afterwards. You see two guys wide open that aren't guarded, even though 10 seconds I could just hold it. Yeah, I'm probably making that pass too. Because even when I'm thinking, then when you get placed the moment and you're like, oh, the ball's in my hands, and then you look up and it's like, oh, there's two guys wide open, you're thinking you could lob the ball right over. All righty, let's go out to the guest line right now. Welcome in one of my favorites. He knows what it's like to coach in the Final Four. We remember his great South Carolina team, and now he's doing an unbelievable job at UMass. They had that huge win up against Miami of Ohio this year. Miami, Ohio's first loss of the season. That's the coach over at UMass, and Frank Martin, kind enough to join us on the Zach Gelb Show. Coach, how you been?
Oh, Zach, I'm getting old, man. I probably look a lot different than the last time we saw each other, but I'm doing great, man. I coach basketball for a living, man. Are you kidding me? I say we've got a lot of challenges in our business right now, and it's not negative challenges. It's just a new world, and we're all trying to understand it so we can continue to try and impact young people. The reason all us older guys got into it was not to collect a salary. Was it a job where you made money? Yes. But we got into it to impact young people and be a part of the competitive spirit that we all of us that like sports, we love the competition. But we got to, we're trying to figure it out. Eventually the water will find its level and we'll all move on.
There's so much I could start you off with, but obviously going back to I think you guys were assistants together in 2006. What is it like to see your pal Brad Underwood finally get to a Final Four as a head coach?
Yeah, man, he was so close. When they played UConn in Boston a couple of years ago, my wife and I went and, we were behind this bench and it was a real good game. And then UConn went on a 30-0 run or something, which I'd never seen that in a college basketball game. But they went a 30-0 run, and I know how much Brad means to the people that he's around. He's got a great basketball mind. He's got a great disposition, a great demeanor. Tyler, his son, and my son are the same age, and they were both two little runts running around the office back in the day, and now I'm sitting there watching their games, and Tyler's his right-hand man, and so it's special. And then Orlando, Antigua. I've known Orlando since, I don't know, 1990. I want to say I was an assistant high school coach, and we played St. Raymond's in a tournament out in San Diego, and he was a player on that team, and that's when we met. I was young at the time, so. I'm super excited for them, and Illinois has done an incredible job in supporting them. I think Calipari said this the other day. I think it was John. He said coaches win games, administration win championships, and when you get coach and administration connected, then it's no different than a general manager and a head coach. When they're on the same page, then your team has a chance to compete at the highest level. And it's the same way in college athletics.
I remember when I was at that East Regional, when you guys with South Carolina punched your ticket to the Final Four. What is it like? Obviously, you got to get your team ready for the next game.
Yeah.
But when you get a day to really appreciate it, you get a moment to breathe, when everyone in the sports world is talking about the 4 teams remaining. What do you remember about that when you were at South Carolina?
The nonstop attention that the coaches and players go through from the second the game ends and you win till that next game, which would be, it's like football. I said this at the time. I remember doing a live spot with CBS with Jay Wright and them guys in studio at our hotel on the way to go play Gonzaga. And I said, I'm glad I didn't pick football for a living, because I'm losing my mind. Because there's so many days between games, I'm not used to it. I'm like over prepared. We're used to preparing in 48 hours to go play a game, and now you spend so much time watching film and trying to get your team as prepared as you can, and you got all the distractions, and I'd say distractions in a positive way. Family, friends that are all trying to get tickets and want to now start talking to your staff, myself, our players about how great we are. Well, we haven't accomplished the bottom line yet, which is you got to go play the last game, try and get to the last game, and then go win that one. Then we can celebrate how great we are. But in the meantime, we still had games to play. So that nonstop attention, Zach, that's it's easy to get derailed and lose the focus of what got you to the Final Four, which is that it's tunnel vision, man. It's that eliminating all the noise and worried about the stuff your team needs you to do and where you need to sacrifice, not how great you are and how special you are. And the team didn't get there because of you. We got there because of us, which is a big difference.
You never know how the games are going to play on out. I remember walking out of the Final Four last year, and I couldn't explain how Duke lost the game to Houston. A year later, it's deja vu all over again, where I'm sitting there and I go, UConn won the game. I know all the great things about the UConn program, but I still don't understand how Duke lost that game. What an unbelievable moment for the sport yesterday.
Yeah, and I got bad news for John Scheyer. I used to look good like him. Now when you stay in the business, you end up looking like this, John. It's that nice head of hair he's got, and it's hard. It's and people think because you get to that game, why you like. We got to the Elite Eight game against Butler in 2000, 10 at K-State. And it took me forever to get over that loss. And then in 17, we lose to Gonzaga in the semifinals at the Final Four. And it took me even longer to get over that loss because you don't get there unless it's total investment by everyone that's a part of what you're doing. And you're so fortunate to be in that moment that when you can't quite overcome that last hurdle, it hurts even more. And so I feel for those guys, man, because it was a great game. Duke played their hearts out. Let's not sit there and act like, UConn got lucky or Duke had a bad game. Duke played their hearts out. They were in total control of the game. The problem is UConn just wouldn't go away. They just kept coming and kept coming. And that's the way Elite Eight games usually go. They or Sweet 16 games. They come down to the last couple plays and sometimes they go in your favor and sometimes they don't. And as a coach, it's a really, really difficult place to be in.
Yeah, and also it's such a rarity now where you get one guy that stays all 4 years at a program. And we saw that with Alex Caravan. And I know he didn't have his best game, but when he needed to, he played well down the stretch. I wonder what that does for a team when he's your captain, he's your leader, he's already in the Huskies of honor. And, even if it's not looking great, I felt like those guys just kept on digging because they didn't want this to be Alex's last game in the Huskies uniform.
Absolutely. And, we all make a big deal of the last three, but he made the three before that made it a 1-point game after being 0 for 6 or something from the 3-point line in the game. And that's where your seniors step up. And then he could have shot that last ball because he had just made the one before, but instead he goes, no, I'm going to give it to this freshman over here who hadn't made a shot, but I trust him. And I'm going to let him do this because he's wide open. And that's what that senior experience is all about, is to have the courage to not get your emotions tied to the game, the previous play, but just stay the course and go make the next play. And that's what he did. And, it's as you hear Danny and, I know Danny, I know his staff, and you hear them speak about Alex and you hear his teammates speak about Alex, and you look at the accomplishments that have been made with Alex on the court, he's got to be a special young man. So it's awesome. As a coach, it's awesome to watch. That used to be what we all did. And I get it. It's not the case anymore. But that doesn't mean that when there's one like him, you don't celebrate it.
Why do you still want to coach? Like, this is a totally different world. There's a lot of guys, right, that have had a lot of success like yourself. They go, I'm good. I don't need to deal with it anymore. Why do you still like to coach, even though this era is totally different than what you were used to?
Zach, I my first year as a head coach, I had 8 freshmen, 2 of which were NBA players, and Michael Beasley and Bill Walker. Those 2 guys gave me 10 months. They didn't make my job easy. They made me work. They came in and did everything I asked them to do. They represented our university. They took it to the NCAA tournament. 10 months later, they both made a better life because of their sacrifice and their commitment. Well, to me right now, it's no different. Do I wish we had a Jacob Pullen that stays with me for 4 years and goes from an unheralded recruit to a first-team All-American and the winningest player in the university history, or Sindarius Thornwell at South Carolina? Like, do I still wish that existed? Yes, because that's the world that I grew up in, that allowed me to experience success. Now, why do I stay in it? Because whether they give me 4 years or 10 months, when they come in and it's a JUCO kid or an unheralded high school recruit, and he comes into UMass and, he sacrifices and he does and he listens and he accepts coaching. 10 months later, if he helps us win games and they have a chance to go make 3 times more money than what we can pay, I just helped that young man, and that person is better off than he was the day that we met each other. And that's what this journey is all about. It's about improving people's lives. And, they stay for 4 years. That's better for me and my career. If they stay for 1 year and leave, majority of the times in today's day and age is because there's something better for them. How can I be upset if they did their part, we did our part, and they find an opportunity to make their life better?
I remember watching your Kansas State teams. As an East Coast kid, I was attracted to them because of Michael Beasley, and that's the one person I thought of when I watched Kansas State basketball. This year at Kansas, Darren Peterson, right, was the one guy. Now, that was a complicated story with, is he in or is he out? But when you have a coach where everyone's knowing that program, nationally based off one player, how difficult is that managing it when you have a huge star like that in college basketball?
It's complicated because everyone around them, by the time they get to you, has told them how great they are. And then they get to your campus, and everyone around them is telling them that whether Bill Self, Frank Martin, or this chair that I'm sitting on is their coach, they're getting drafted and they're going to make guaranteed whatever the NBA salary slot is now, $12 million for 3 years or something like that for a top pick that's a rookie. It's hard to keep them focused on what matters, and that's the journey that you have to be better tomorrow than you are today, that you got to work harder tomorrow than you work today, and just try to stack up days so you can maximize your time and not be worried about statistics. Like, guys ain't getting drafted because of how many points they average per game. Guys are getting drafted based on growth, talent, who they play for, acceptance of coaching, and then obviously production and team winning. It's all those things put together. It's not because of one sole thing. And now, is there really talented guys that get drafted? Of course they do. That's why you have so many guys that bomb when they get drafted, because they're drafted on talent, not on what they've proven that they're able to grow on and accept coaching and all. Because here's the thing, when they get to the NBA, their talent is irrelevant to the general manager and the coach. The talent is celebrated on draft day. Production, growth is what that GM and that coach need. And when you take a guy that doesn't work and doesn't grow, that GM and coach are losing their jobs. And that's just, it's everything goes back to growth. And but I've been lucky, man. The one and dones that I've had have been great dudes. I love players that challenge my coaching. That doesn't mean that they're anti my coaching. That just means that they come in and they work so hard that they make me have to give them more responsibility, that they embrace growth. So that means I got to teach them new things and demand different things to get them to stay focused in on growth rather than statistics. But if we're going on stats, Zach, since you brought his name up, I hear about all these freshmen and, he's the next great one and he's the greatest one and blah, blah, blah. It's fine. It's awesome. The next time you find one that averages 26, 14, shoots 54 from the field, 40 from the three, 78 from the foul line, and has 31 double-doubles in 33 games, call me. I want to know what other freshman does that. For an NCAA tournament team with 8 freshmen on it, I want to know who does that.
Yeah, all these years later, still does reign supreme. So where you're coaching right now and where I live, we all know the power of the Hurley family.
Yeah.
And I get why someone in the South may be like, I don't like that Dan Hurley guy. I love him. Mm-hmm. How about what has impressed you the most and, with his coaching and really what he's been able to do at a legendary program like a UConn?
Yeah, I met Dan at the same tournament. I met Orlando Antigua in San Diego back in 1990. And my high school coach, Scheyer Rodriguez, who I ended up being his assistant for 9 years, him and Coach Hurley, Bob Hurley Sr., became really good friends through competition in the 80s. Miami Senior versus St. Anthony's had like legendary high school games. I used to be a young assistant, and I sit there and watch Coach Hurley run his teams, and I was blown away with how the demands, how hard his teams played, and that's how my high school coach was. So I applauded. I love hard coaching. I'm not trying to protect myself. It's the world I come from. So when I see Danny and I see his brother Bobby coaching and demanding that players do things a certain way and being challenged every single day by your coach to be better prepared for the next day than you were the previous day. To look at difficulty straight on and say, bring it on, I'm ready to go. That's Coach Hurley. That's what his teams at St. Anthony's were. And I'm a dad. It means the world to me when I see, kids that grow up to become men and the values that their parents teach them shows off in their work, not in their parents' work, in their work. And it's awesome to watch, man. It's awesome. And then, to know Danny as a 17-year-old high school guy, because Danny was kind of laid back when he was a player. And Bobby was the other baby. Bobby as a player was like wound up like a top. Danny was laid back. And now to watch both of those guys coach their programs, and I'm dating myself, Zach. I'm letting the world know how old I am right now. But it's as a dad, I can tell you I take a lot of pride watching Danny and Bobby be who they are, be true to who they are, and carry that Hurley name the way senior coach Hurley got it done.
Yeah, and I remember when I was at Temple University, Danny was the head coach at Rhode Island, and Bobby was on his staff.
Mm-hmm.
And like Fran Dunphy's the nicest guy in the world, isn't very loud. And I was in the gym, and there wasn't a lot of fans there. And I heard those two guys on the sideline, and Danny and Bobby. I'll never forget it. I want to ask you a little bit about Dusty May too.
Yeah.
Because we know the great run that he had at Florida Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a big job like Michigan, and we've seen some coaches, because everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, he went to a Final Four at a place like FAU. He should be able to do so at Michigan. And it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
For him in his second year to have this dominant of a team, and there's so many different ways to win now. What impresses you the most about Dusty May?
Yeah, Dusty's phenomenal, man. Dusty, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he and I know each other great. We have a friendship. We know each other. When Dusty got hired at Florida Atlantic, he hired one of the young guys that I gave a break into the business with, Eric Pastrana, who's now an assistant at the University of Miami. He gave Eric a job. When Dusty got the Michigan job, he gave another guy that was on my staff, Mike Boynton, who's been a very successful head coach at Oklahoma State. He gave him a job. So Dusty's phenomenal. He's got a great demeanor, just a great personality. He's demanding. He doesn't, unlike me, I got to stomp and yell because that's who I am. He can hold guys accountable the same way without stomping or without yelling. And what he's done is phenomenal. And it just shows how, as a coach, when you're going through difficult times, which he was going, if you ask him, he'll tell you, he was going through difficult times at Florida Atlantic. And all of a sudden, he was able to keep a group of guys together. And those guys stayed together and then did something special at Florida Atlantic. And then he was able to keep them again. Mm-hmm. And they were ready to make another run. And, it's not as easy as people think sometimes to make those kind of runs. But now he gets a big time job, and the way he's handled himself and handles the job, because those big time jobs, there's, comes a lot of expectation with from the person that takes the job. We tend to forget, the athletic directors choose us coaches to go in there, and then we choose everyone that comes in with us. So there's a demand and an expectation to everyone that we bring in, that we have to act and perform a certain way because we were brought here to give the school winning, and the commitment level at Michigan is obviously phenomenal. That's why they've won in every sport. And for him to handle it the way he has is a true testament to who Dusty is every day.
You talk about overcoming adversity. A coach like Tommy Lloyd, he hasn't lost a lot of games, but going into this tournament, I sat here, I'm like, that's a coach that's got to get to a Final Four. He's got the team. He's never been past the Sweet 16. It's not the end goal to get to the Final Four. The end goal when you got a team like that is to win a championship. Well, this week for him, I'm curious what his team's mentality is going to be like, because there could be people at Exhale, like Tommy Lloyd. I'm not saying he's going to do this, but you get to the Final Four and it's like, oh, we got there after everyone said we just have to get there. And you wonder how that's going to play maybe a factor in the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, he lived it as an assistant at Gonzaga. Actually, mm-hmm. Tommy was the assistant at Gonzaga when we played them in 17. And so he has an idea of what's in front of them. But it's a little easier to manage when you're the suggestion maker than when you're the decision maker. But I'm sure he's, in today's microwave society where, everyone thinks that everyone's supposed to win. Like it's unfortunately not everybody wins, and making a run in that tournament. I'm fortunate, Zach. I'm not here to speak about myself, but I'm 10-5 in that tournament. So being able to win games in that tournament is really hard. I understand it. To Tommy's won games in that tournament. Now he's gotten over one hump, and now he's got the Final Four to deal with. And but that's progress, man. That's the way it is. And but it's not, to use a different animal. I grew up a Dolphins fan. I grew up across the street from the Orange Bowl, Zach. And I remember when I saw Marino as a rookie in 1984, I thought he's going to the Super Bowl 20 times. And especially playing for the Dolphins, who I grew up watching play in the Super Bowl on a regular basis. And he never made it to another Super Bowl as great as he was. And so it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard to win in that NCAA tournament, one game, let alone the four to get to the Final Four. Sports is all matchups, and we fall in love with yesterday's game, but the matchup tomorrow might be more complicated than yesterday's game. So it all depends who's in front of us.
I got to ask you about the victory you guys had up against Miami of Ohio. I know you played them 2 times earlier. You almost beat them, twice, and it just didn't go their way. They're on this quest of this run for perfection with this perfect regular season. To get that win in your conference tournament, just what did it mean for you guys and your program?
That was awesome. It's, my team this year, we were really, really close to being a 24-win team. We lost a bunch of games on free throw shooting. We just we were hit and miss on free throw shooting. It was disappointing. Like everyone else, we pretty much had a new team and trying to figure it out. And I thought we got a lot better as the season went on. It was disappointing that we fell short of what we spoke about doing back in the summer when we all got together for the first time, which is winning a league championship. But at the same time, extremely pleased for the growth that those kids gave me, for the commitment that those kids gave me. And, that game was fun. The home game against Miami here, it's I just finished my 4th year. 3 of the biggest crowds that we've had at UMass in the last 13 years have happened, over the last couple of years. And so we're pecking away. Wins like that, wins like we had down in South Florida against Florida State, Colorado a couple years ago, winning a tournament in Myrtle Beach. It's all part of the stepping stone to find that belief that you can win regardless of who you're playing against. And hopefully that game where we overcame that hurdle that we came so close to clearing the first 2 times we played Miami, gives our returning guys a lot of confidence so we can be even better as we prepare next summer with whoever the new batch of guys. I mean, we know who 5 of them are. We saw 5 really good freshmen for next year. But now, in spring portal season, people start disappearing. They just kind of go into the twilight zone. You have no idea what's going on sometimes, but it's all part of the new world that we're in right now.
Well, Coach, always great to see you. Always great to have you on and get your insight. Really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
Hey, Zach, by the way, I can't let it go. You're sitting there with Mike Vrabel on your chest, man. That's awesome, man. That's
Have you been to some Patriot games?
When Coach Belichick was there, I went to a couple practices. And
okay.
I spent 2 different days with those guys. I have not met Coach Vrabel yet, but I'm a as a Dolphins fan, I couldn't stand him as a player. But as a fellow man that tries to coach, I got a lot of respect for how he goes about his business and what he did there right away. And I'm looking forward to hopefully crossing paths with him.
Yeah. How did you and Belichick link up? I know they have so many people out there to practice, but how did you guys form that connection?
Yeah, they hired someone by the name of Jack Easterby.
Sure.
Jack is a South Carolina guy. So Jack called me. And he said, hey, Coach is coming in for senior day. Football does those senior day workouts or whatever. And I want to connect you guys. So I went over there and met him and spent some time with him. And he was awesome. And, when I got up here, I reached out right away and they welcomed me. And I was extremely grateful to be a part of that for a couple of days.
And you don't got room for the Dolphins anymore, Coach. You got a good quarterback now in your neck of the woods in Drake May. The Dolphins are still looking to replace Marino.
Like, my God. I told someone the other day, because my wife's a huge Patriots fan.
Yeah.
So I got to sit at home and actually act like I'm rooting for the Patriots too. But why not? I live here and they're great. And it's a well-run organization top to bottom. And my Dolphins have been all 30 years, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's depressing. I do you realize that the day Dave Wannstedt, and I'm not here to blame, I coach for a living. I'm not trying to cast stones on coaches, but just to give perspective of what I grew up in, the day Dave Wannstedt got hired, the Dolphins were the winningest professional organization in all of sports. And since that day, it's been an unbelievable, like, just train wreck story after train wreck story. And it's like, wow, man, I can't. Hopefully before the good Lord comes to get me, Zach, I can see my Dolphins maybe not win a Super Bowl, but be a good team and make a run in the playoffs.
And it'd be better seeing the Dolphins do it than the Jets. That's what we can agree on.
hey, back in the day, you'd be in the Orange Bowl and the Dolphins were playing the Jets. Nobody paid attention to the game. The amount of fights that went on, 75,000 people, and it was half New York, half Miami, and it would just be a brawl for 2.5 hours. Even the players would stop and look in the stands. But I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm just saying the Jets blood is they're equally disliked by everybody.
If memory serves you right, weren't you a bouncer at one point? You probably broke up some of those fights.
Yeah, but not in that event. Not too many people there, Zach. Too many people there. I'm not in control of that environment, man. I got to know what's going on if I'm going to jump in the middle of those things.
Coach, we appreciate it. You're the best. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Zach.
There you go, Coach Frank Martin, now at UMass. You had some unbelievable runs at Kansas State, and then obviously you got to see that South Carolina team. I remember being at Madison Square Garden. I think they played Florida, where they punched their ticket to the Final Four. And now we got the Final Four set this year in the year of 2026, where we'll see Illinois play UConn, and then the big game on Saturday night. I believe it's at 8:49 p.m. Eastern time is the tip-off between Michigan and Arizona. It's going to be a good one. All righty, Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. Take a break. Come on back.
The 4-burner, side sear burner with Clearview glass stainless steel grill from Monument Grills. Made of tempered glass, which is strong, insulated, and allows you to check your grilling without lifting the lid. Our porcelain-coated cast iron cooking grids offer a large cooking surface of 513.3 square inches, primary cooking area, with even heat cooking. The Monument Grills include LED control knobs and are easy to light with pilotless electronic ignition. Better grilling, better value, Monument Grills.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
I'm Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Very discreet.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. We'll do a little NFL coming up momentarily. I did see in college football, Garrett Ross. I don't think this is a bad thing, but Gus Malzahn is going to be on the college football playoff selection committee. He was last time the offensive coordinator at Florida State, and I think he retired a little while back, at the end of the season or at some point in the offseason he retired, and now he's going to be part of the college football playoff selection committee. So I don't see how it's a bad thing.
No, I mean, he knows the ropes. He's been through the process. So get somebody in there who kind of understands it, that he'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I think we make too much now of the college football playoff committee.
Do.
In a 4-team format, I get it. It was more important. In a 12-team format, if you don't get in, I don't really want to hear the bitching. Like Notre Dame this past year, do I think Notre Dame is one of the best 12 teams in the country? Yes. But with the way that the playoff is structured, with the conference champions getting a guaranteed spot, the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, the way it was structured, like you lost 2 games at the beginning of the season, and if you can't make it clear and obvious through 12 games that you are one of the best teams in the country, the best 12 teams in the country, I don't want to hear, oh, woe is me, we didn't get in, even though I think that team with Carr at quarterback, Jadarian Price, and Jeremiah Love, do I think they're one of the best 12 teams? Sure, but you lost 2 games at the beginning of the season to Miami and Texas A&M, and therefore, if you would have just won one of those games, you would have easily been in, but it was one of those years where all chaos kind of broke loose, and you got held out. Now, the process, how the committee got there, it made no sense. How you had Notre Dame in, and they didn't lose any games down the stretch, and they fell, and it kept on being the debate was Alabama, Notre Dame, Then Alabama gets smashed in the SEC championship game. Miami is not even in the ACC championship game. Notre Dame obviously not in a conference, so they're not in a championship game. And then did it make sense that Alabama stayed, and then Miami got dropped down, and on the same level as Notre Dame, they put Miami in over Notre Dame? Like, yeah, Miami should have got in over Notre Dame because they beat them. But how they got there, I can understand why people had a problem with the process. But still, I would say win one of the games at the beginning of the season, and you wouldn't have been left out.
I think the only team who can legitimately make a case for the whole playoff that they got screwed was the Florida State team. I think that's the only one that can legitimately make an argument. Outside of that, especially now with the expanded format, you're right. Win and get in. You're Notre Dame. You had the opportunities there. You did take care of business. Miami was a weird one because you didn't even play in your conference championship. So I understand what happened with that. But to me, at the end of the day, the only team that has a complaint is that Florida State team. So, I mean, him jumping on the committee, cool, but we'll see what happens to it.
And also, was that Florida State team deserving to go? Yes.
Yes.
When they got down to their 3rd-string quarterback, did I think that they were one of the 4 best teams in the country?
No.
I don't. But you don't lose a game. You should get in, especially when you play at a program like Florida State. But that's now no longer an issue because if it was a 12-team format,
they would have gotten.
They would have found them a spot to get on in.
Yeah.
They would have had to, especially with the fact that they won their conference championship game. They would have been one of the 5 highest-ranked conference championships. This year, though, I don't like that. And Notre Dame could do what Notre Dame could do. But I don't like that rule that if Notre Dame in the final rankings is in the top 12, that they definitely go. I don't think we should have any of these stipulations. And I know if you don't put stipulations in, it makes it ambiguous, and then it could just be the SEC and a Big Ten love fest. Just put the 12 best teams of the college football playoff. That's the way that, like, you put all these people on these committees. Put me on with one other guy that knows college football, and we could pick the 12 best teams in college football. I really do think that I could have done a better job presenting what the committee wanted to do last year than the way that they presented it. Because the math, it's one of those things where the math just didn't add up to me. I was fine with their outcome, but how they explained how they got there just really didn't make sense to me last year.
No, not at all.
All righty, let's do this. We'll play you some videos just coming off that craziness from Duke and UConn. Let's get John Scheyer's thoughts on the play at the end of the game where eventually Kaden Boozer did turn over the basketball.
We just have to secure it, right? I mean, we got it. They had a foul. I was ready for a timeout, and we just got to hold on. And, it's easy to look at that play. I look at every play that happened, especially in that second half. This is not about one play. It's about every play to put us in that position. And that's what you don't want to do, where one play, something can happen. And so for me, look, it's going to be tough, but it's not going to be on one play.
Oh boy, Garrett. I don't want to sound off on John Scheyer because I respect the answer he gave because he doesn't. It's going to be ugly for Kaden Boozer. Not only did you cost your team a chance to go to the Final Four, your brother is having a great season, and he's the player of the year in college basketball, and he's your twin brother, and you make the pass that prevents him from going to the Final Four. So that kid is going to have to deal with enough shit as it is. So I appreciate the coach at least saying, hey, one play doesn't ruin the game. One play doesn't, is the reason why we lost. In this case, it is.
Yeah.
Because if I'm talking to John Scheyer, and I get why he's saying that, but I would say to him, well, then what were the other plays? Like, what were the other plays that really screwed you? It's a 2-point game. You're inbound in the basketball. You just hold on to the ball, and you don't turn over the ball in that spot. Even if you split free throws in that spot and you go up by 3, the odds that UConn's going to come down and hit the shot aren't good.
No.
That was an incident. It's rare where you could say one play cost them the game, and there's one play why you lost that game. That is the one play to a T.
No, it really is. But at the same time, like, I totally get where he's coming from and protecting his player. Like, you can't just throw him under the bus in that situation. I do think it's him also saying, without coming out and saying, like, I made some coaching decisions, like kind of saying, put some of the blame on me without coming out and saying that. But at the end of the day, he's right. Like, there was plenty of opportunities for them to make stops, right? Like, UConn got back into the game somehow. So you weren't doing something right. But at the end of the day, it did come down to the one play. So I see both sides of it.
Let's go more on John Scheyer on the loss to UConn, once again getting stunned for the second year in a row where they should have won a game, but they did not.
I'll ask Cam.
I'll just say this.
Go ahead, Coach.
And then if there's not questions, let Cam, he'll answer and go. It's cannot be more disappointed and feeling for our guys. At the same time of, just trying to process what happened. I don't have the words. What I do know is literally this team, what each individual player went through just to play the game. I've never seen anything like it. What these guys did have to get ready, their foot injuries. He's got a black eye. He's playing the whole game. And I'm incredibly sorry for these guys that they got to go through this. This is on us. We're going to be in this together. And the year that this guy's had has been absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I don't have words other than just how proud I am of these guys and how disappointed we are.
So you remember when Virginia lost to UMBC, Garrett? And then the following year, Virginia came back and they won it all. You remember when that UNC team lost to Villanova on the Chris Jenkins shot at the buzzer, came back the next year and won it all. Now in college basketball, even though there's some players that got, that feeling last year at Duke and San Antonio where they just gagged the game away up against Houston, your two best players were Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel. Cam Boozer is not going to be back at Duke next year. He's going to be off to the NBA. So I wonder, where we've seen those stories before, the ultimate humiliation and then the great comeback and the perseverance. Now it's back-to-back years for Duke. The thing that's different now is you used to look at it and you used to look at the players, like when Virginia lost to UMBC. You used to look at the players of UNC when they lost to Villanova at the buzzer. In that group, there was enough of them where they came back the next year and they plowed their way through and they were on a redemption tour. Now this is going to have to be a monkey that John Scheyer is going to have to shake. And he's going to get that monkey off his back because he's now the face of what happened the last 2 years. Even when you had Cooper Flagg 2 years ago. Even this year when you've had Cam Boozer. The two players of the year in college basketball. And Con Knippel, look what he did. But regardless who returns on this team moving forward, the face of Duke is now John Scheyer. And anytime John Scheyer is going to be in a big game with the lead, people are going to say, kind of like what they do with Kyle Shanahan in football, all right, he has the big lead, But when's the other shoe going to fall? And I do think Jon Scheyer is eventually going to win a championship at Duke. But now this is on Jon Scheyer and solely Jon Scheyer to get Duke back to this stage, Elite Eight, Final Four, get to a championship game and win a championship. And this is going to be something when it happens back-to-back years in stunning fashion. I don't even know how to explain how they lost the game to Houston this year. And don't even get me started, they lost to UConn. I really don't know how to explain it. Right. But he is now the face of that new Duke movement with Krzyzewski no longer coaching. And I know Scheyer won a championship as a player, and he's won before and as an assistant coach. But this guy is truly in championship or bust mode until he gets one, because now people are going to look at Jon Scheyer, and they're going to say, as many regular season wins as he has, right? All those accomplishments so far, the dude right now is looked at as a head coach, as a choker, and it's up to him to shake that.
No, it really is. And I was looking before the show just because I was curious, like, what does your roster look like with the Boozer twins are gone? But what does your roster look like if you were to retain everybody?
Well,
he's got like two guys.
Is Kaden gone?
I mean, he might not be gone. That's a really good point. I don't think he's
Cam
gone.
is. I don't know if
Caden's
Kaden is.
gone.
I don't think Kaden would
is.
be going in the first round right now.
No, that's a valid point. Caden's probably coming back. But outside of Kaden, let's say Caden's just to the side. Right now, if they brought back everybody on their roster that's eligible to come back, you only have two people that average over double digits per game. You're going to have to hit the transfer portal hard. You're Duke. You're always going to be able to recruit.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
They're going to be fine. But it's going to be interesting to see how Scheyer goes about filling in the pieces. Do you balance, like, you bring in one good freshman a year and try to grab a couple of key players out of the portal? Like, what is your philosophy with stacking that roster? How do you look at your depth? Do you want to keep like 7 guys? Do you want to have like a 8 to not 10 guy bench there? How he puts it together is going to be really fascinating. The money, I'm just really intrigued to see what he could do, because you're right. Like, you can't just bank on having the roster there. It's set to rebuild. He's going to have to recruit well. He's going to have to evaluate the portal in a fashion that is better than what they have been doing. And if they do that, then maybe we can get them back to competing for championships on a regular basis.
I would be, without even knowing the roster next year, I'd be shocked if Duke is not a top 4 seed of the NCAA tournament next year.
Well, they should be year in and year
Duke.
out.
They are Duke. Like, year in and year out, they have a dominant team. And look what they've done just in terms of the players that they brought in their program in the last 2 seasons. It's ultimately, I don't even think it's that much roster construction. It's just not gagging away these games. They should have beat Houston last year. They should have beat UConn this year. And, like, do I sit there and do I say, oh, they lost yesterday's game because of Jon Scheyer? No, I don't think they lost yesterday's game because of Jon Scheyer. But this now is going to carry with him. And had there been coaches that early on in their career, and I think we forget this because it's Duke, right? And it's what Krzyzewski did. Have there been coaches that early on in the NCAA tournament didn't have the most success or didn't win a championship right away? Like, look at Coach K in the start of his career. So it takes time, but to have – it's one thing, and I'd rather lose later on than earlier on. It's one thing you lose in the round of 32. Right, and the other team just beat you by 15, and your team didn't have it. You don't show up. It gets forgotten about in 2 days. When you lose in an isolated spot in the Elite Eight, you lose in an isolated spot in the Final Four, in a game where your team is better for 98% of the way, that's when the narratives form, and it feels – don't get me wrong. What happened for Duke the last 2 years is horrible. It is rancid. It is ugly. It is awful. But the narratives then grow even louder because everyone's watching those games. It's not the round of 32 where you got like 3 or 4 other games that are going on right now. And sure, Duke loses. It's always a huge storyline. But everyone was watching those 2 years. And when you watched the game, you sat there and you said, wow, Duke's going to win. Duke's going to the championship game. They beat Houston. Duke is going back to the Final Four. They beat UConn. And then, like, you got the tweets out, and then you look up, you go, let me just put in the drafts, and I'll wait till it becomes official. And then you go in the drafts, and you go, delete. I did it yesterday.
Well, I bet a bunch of people did.
Hand up. I had a tweet ready to go, and it was the 3 best teams in the NCAA tournament entering, this March Madness. Were in no order: Duke, Michigan, and Arizona. It's fitting that 3 of them get there. Arizona and Michigan's going to be a war. I said something like that. And in all likelihood, the winner of that game is going to go on to play Duke on what
Correct.
should be a tremendous championship game on Monday night. And I saw it with like 7 minutes left. I said, 7 minutes left, a lot could happen. But I'm not expecting, as much respect as I have for Dan Hurley, as much as I like Alex Caravan, and I know what that team's accomplishing, I'm not expecting UConn to come back. I just know you don't send that tweet with 7 minutes remaining. And little did I know, man, thank God that was the case, because actually it would have been a bad thing. I don't mind when people just say that I'm wrong. But that would have been all over the internet, and people would have been dragging me for that. Let's go to Kaden Boozer. I can't even believe what this kid's going through. You turn the basketball over. You're the reason why your team loses in March Madness, isn't going to the Final Four. And, oh, yeah, by the way, your brother's the player of the year in the sport, and you cost him a trip to the Final Four. Here is a dejected Kaden Boozer in the locker room.
A lot of emotions right now. Just kind of what was going through your mind in that last pass, and can you walk us through what happened?
I turned the ball over. Should have been strong with the ball. That would cost our team our season.
What did Coach Scheyer say before in that timeout, before you guys were inbounding the ball there?
Just that we knew that they were going to trap. Just be strong with the ball.
How would you describe kind of what led to giving up the lead in the second half as a team?
I mean, we didn't have our competitive edge. We were guarding them pretty well in the first half. We didn't do the best job of it, but at the end of the day, I'm sticking with our guys no matter what, and we had a chance to win regardless of what happened in the second half. And it's a tough game.
What can you say about just how close you guys are as a program? I mean, 3 losses by 5 points total, 2 at the buzzer. Last year, obviously, really close to winning the title. Can you speak to a little bit just how close you guys are, trying to put that in perspective? Obviously, not close enough.
I mean, it's hard to put it in perspective right now, but I mean, this is the best time I've had playing basketball. The group of guys that we have, I'm really grateful for the moment. Obviously, we didn't get the job done, but I'm super grateful for this team and everything that we're able to accomplish this year.
Thanks, Kaden.
I give him credit, Garrett. I give him credit. How many times do we have athletes, and that's a college kid, right? If you could ever get a mulligan in terms of you didn't handle something professionally and you blew off the media, you didn't speak because of it, you could get a mulligan. But he sat there and he answered the questions. Yeah. And that's a horrible moment for him. Horrible. Like, I have empathy. I feel bad for the kid. I do. But that's the sport. There's a winner and a loser. And he lost the game for his team, but I respect how he sat there, and you could tell he's on the verge of tears, but he still answered the questions.
Also, like how Scheyer put him out there. There's been times where coaches would isolate a player or not send them out there in that situation, but he went out there, he owned it. It's brutal to watch. He sat in the
locker room. So going to those March Madness games, they have like a 10-minute cooling off period. So they will bring the coach and select players to the podium, like maybe 2. So obviously Caden's not at the podium. He's sitting there in his locker. But that locker room opens up, and I've been in those locker rooms where there is that team, right, like the team, and they don't win. And you have so many media there, so you get like people that don't really know like the right questions to ask, or they don't really know the teams. It is a bizarre scene. But there, I'm sure there's been times where a kid like that would be like, I got 10 minutes. Yeah. I'm going to shower, and then I'm getting the F out of here because, I don't think I'm in the right headspace to speak. I give him, and maybe it helps when your dad was a really damn good NBA player and you grew up around it and all that. But there was professionalism from Kaden Boozer. Let's hear more out of him. I know it's tough to watch just because – he's so dejected. I know if you're a Duke hater, you're loving this stuff. I feel bad for the kid. Here's more of Kaden Boozer talking to the media.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Kaden, I'm sure you've been asked a bunch about it, but can you walk me through that last play a little bit and what you saw, what you were thinking?
I saw a dominant get trapped. I went to just be an outlet. Obviously, I saw the two people down there, Isaiah and Pat, just trying to get them the ball because Isaiah's our best free throw shooter. I could have shot one of them out, and I let our team down.
Coach just said in there it's not one play, that there were a host of plays in the second half and throughout the whole game. How do you sort of internalize that, and can you process this game? I know it's only a couple of minutes away.
I mean, obviously we could have done a lot of things better in the second half, but we still put ourselves in a great position to win the game regardless. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of plays that happen in the game, but we still put ourselves in a really good position to win it.
When you look back at the season, I don't know what's going to happen if this is the last time you get to play with your brother or not, but how have you reflected on that at all?
I mean, it's been a special year, Obviously, being able to do what we did this year is really special. And again, this was the last time we were able to choose this, so I was never going to pass that up. And I just feel like I let him down.
So there you go. That's Kaden Boozer, who obviously was the unfortunate player for the Duke team that threw the ball away up against UConn that led to that moment of euphoria up against the Huskies with Braylon Mullins hitting the shot. Let's go to Braylon Mullins, who we had Alex Caravan on Tuesday of last week, and he said, that's not your typical freshman. That's a kid that's not fazed by the moment. Well, check. Braylon Mullins did not hit a three until he hit the game-winning shot that was a three from Steph Curry range. Here was Braylon Mullins, I believe it was CBS afterwards, talking about the crazy win.
Be through that shot to win it.
I mean, I don't know. I looked up at the clock, and it said 5 seconds. So I tried to get the ball to somebody who had made one in the game, and he wanted to throw it back. So, I mean, I saw 3 seconds. It was the last shot. Just happy to see that shit go in. So, man, I'm so happy.
So there you go. Braylon Mullins, just so happy as a freshman, going back to his home state as a member of the Huskies going to the Final Four. I'm looking at the numbers. UConn shot 44% from the field. Duke shot 52% from the field. From three, you had Duke shooting 40% from three. UConn was 22%. The charity stripe, Duke was 73%. UConn was 71%. Rebounding, Duke was 34 rebounds. UConn had 28. Assist, UConn 16. Duke 17. Here's the big number. Because, right, so far, Garrett, you're looking at those numbers, you're like, Duke should have won the game.
Oh, yeah.
Turnovers. Duke had 13. UConn, 5.
Discipline. Got to be a more disciplined team, buddy.
You ultimately turn the ball over too many times. That's how you fumble a game away. And It's fitting that a massive turnover like that leads to Mullins hitting that shot and putting UConn back in the Final Four. Now, Dan Hurley.
Oh,
I would love to do a segment where you just pull random clips from games that Dan Hurley coached in, like press conferences.
Yeah.
And you make sure like he doesn't say win or lose in it. And I would love to see, based off his emotions in the press conference, if they won or they lost the game. Like you play a 15-second clip. Like I used to do that with Belichick. We would play clips, and I'd be like, did he win or lose the game? I don't really know. Dan Hurley's talking to the media, and his team, they could not hit water if they fell out of a boat from three. And it was brought up to him in the press conference. This is how Dan Hurley responded to that one.
You guys started 1 of 18 from three-point range, finished 4 for 5, and hit the game winner from 3. How ironic is that? What do you feel was what turned for you guys down the stretch there?
What the hell did you just say? 1 for 18? I knew it was bad. I kept asking the assistant coaches, and no one would tell me what it was. I knew it was bad.
If we didn't see the Final Four hat on him, Garrett, and you didn't see him smiling, and if you just heard that, he was like, 1 of 18. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. You probably would have thought they lost the basketball game.
Oh, definitely. You also be thinking somebody's probably going to lose their job. It's like, I've been asking assistants. They don't even want to tell me down there.
Well, he's not Kevin Willard. Kevin Willard would have fired all those damn assistants. I don't know if Dan Hurley would, but that is just one of those moments.
funny.
But you look back at the history of the tournament. I said this earlier. Everyone remembers a Leitner shot, even if you weren't alive for it, right? Everyone remembers the Jalen Suggs half-court shot.
Yep.
Everyone remembers the Chris Jenkins shot. And then you get that moment yesterday by Braylon Mullins. Those are just 4 shots. You know, there's others, Drew at Valparaiso, obviously playing for his dad. We talked about the other day, that kid Hunter, whose dad has the Achilles injury and he's flying. There's other shots.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the iconic shots in the history of March Madness, right in front of it was a putback, but those probably are the 3 or 4 that you think of.
I'm thinking too, like, how remarkable is it to have 2 freshmen who didn't hit shit in any game come out and have game winners? When you had Bells last week for St. John's, and you turn around and you have this week with this one, it's unreal to see those kids step up in that type of moment.
Well, Bells wasn't a freshman though.
He wasn't a freshman? I thought he was a freshman.
No.
Okay.
He transferred in.
Oh, okay.
I forget where he was, but he wasn't a freshman. But Braylon Mullins was, and that's a kid. It depends what mock draft you look at. Mm-hmm. He went to UConn, and a lot of people thought he was going to be one and done. I don't know if he's going to be one and done. Now, maybe hitting a shot like that, it rises you up the draft board. But I thought it was when he got to UConn, it seemed like it was a foregone conclusion. I just looked at a mock draft. It had him like as the 28th or 27th pick of the draft. So maybe, like, if I'm him, and I, you have this moment like that, and then next year it could really start to become your team. I think I'm going back to UConn. But to your point, Bells didn't hit a shot in that game for St. John's, and then he drills that shot. And you look at Braylon Mullins. Steph Curry once said this to me. I really wanted to see Steph Curry play in person, and for other reasons where the dates just never line. I've never seen him play in person. And I've seen him a few times. But the first time I saw him in person, the Sixers were playing the Warriors. I was living in Philadelphia. And Steph Curry, he didn't make a single 3 in the game. Steph Curry. It was like 0 of 11. I forget what it was. And I remember talking to him afterwards. I'm like, when you get in one of those funks where you're just not making a shot, what's your mentality as one of the great 3-point shooters ever? He goes, shoot or shoot.
Yeah.
Like, I just keep on shooting because I know even if it takes some time, eventually they're going to fall. That was Braylon Mullins yesterday. Sure, and he said it. He originally passed up the ball to Caravan, and Caravan wasn't draining him either. And Caravan made that 3 late, and you're like, oh, finally. But then Caravan realized he didn't have a good look, and then he passed the ball back off. And Mullins at that point had no choice but to shoot it, and he ends up draining it. And also, I forget who the defender is, on that play. You got to get a hand up.
Yeah, you got to put your hand up.
You got to get a hand up. And I forget who it was, but his Twitter handle is like get a hand up or something like that on Instagram. I kid you not. So it's one of those moments that even if UConn doesn't go on to win a championship, like Jalen Suggs at Gonzaga, they didn't win the championship.
No.
They lost to Baylor, right? In the championship game.
Yeah, because he hit that shot against UCLA, and then they got beat by Baylor in the championship.
But and also that Suggs one, sometimes it gets forgotten about a little bit just because there's no fans there.
Yeah.
You've seen the clips through the years. Leitner hitting the shot.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins hitting the shot, and then the fireworks going off because they won it right at the buzzer. Yesterday, the fans are just going nuts. I saw a video. It was the Duke bench compared to the UConn bench. And the UConn bench, it's a party, and the Duke fans are like, yeah, we're about to win.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those moments where when you have the fans there, it's different. Like, if I am just off the top of my head ranking the greatest shots I've ever seen in the history of the NCAA tournament, I would say one is Chris Jenkins because it literally won the championship.
Yeah.
2 would then be Leitner. I think yesterday probably going to end up being more memorable than the Jalen Suggs one. You can make the case the Suggs one was the better shot. But I would
The
probably
moment,
say
yeah.
yesterday, especially with no fans in the crowd back then, COVID, weird time, I would probably say that one is going to go down as more memorable than the Jalen Suggs one, too, especially because it's Duke and UConn.
Exactly.
Like, no offense, with it being, what was it, Gonzaga, UCLA?
Yeah, it's Gonzaga, UCLA.
It wasn't UCLA when you had Coach Wood in there winning all those
Little
championships and undefeated seasons and what like that. So, let me just do this. Greatest shots in the history of the NCAA tournament. I just wonder what people have.
The order? Yeah.
Yeah. Looking back at the best buzzer beaters in March Madness, right? Let's see. Even though technically yesterday wasn't a buzzer beater, but it's pretty damn close. Okay. Yeah, we nailed them.
Probably nailed them, yeah.
We absolutely nailed them. Yeah, they have Valpo in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what would have been the best one of them all, honestly?
What's that?
If Gordon Hayward would have hit that damn shot.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's another one that you think of. And then the Jimmy V one, but that was right in front of the bat. That was a putback.
Yeah, that was a putback. Like,
or an air ball that eventually,
yeah.
that got picked. Like, I don't really consider that a shot, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it was an air ball then caught right in front and then put back in. Like, yeah, that's one that has to get mentioned, but that's not what I'm talking about. Actual shots.
Shot. Yeah.
I would say those are the four. At least the ones that I remember. At least the ones that through history get told as old. It's Jenkins, it's Leitner, Mullins now, and Suggs.
Yep.
Like if you're doing a Mount Rushmore of the best shots I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament, those would be the four to me. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. We are a little under a month out to the NFL draft. You got the owners' meetings going on right now. We'll get those team pictures of the GMs and the head coaches around the NFL. I'll give you the 5 storylines that I'm monitoring from now until the NFL draft when we come on back in a matter of moments.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks. I'm having an issue with Ralph.
With Ralph?
He keeps stealing my lunch.
He's just researching new flavors.
That is slow smoked turkey.
Ralph steals my lunch all the time. You get used to it.
He also peed on my bag.
He is warming up to you. Starting a new job is a big change. I want you to think about how you can be more accommodating to Ralph. We're all co-owners here.
If I'm only wearing one suit this summer, it has to be Tuileries Performance Linen. It's wrinkle resistant, machine washable, and built with stretch and breathability that actually moves with you. It'll keep you cool, sharp, and stress-free at your next event.
What does being different mean to me? That is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
But love is passion. Someone you can't live without.
What do you want? What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. I want to do this, Garrett, and I think we'll do this each and every day until the UNC job gets announced.
Okay.
I just want to see if we change from day to day. So the last time we did this, I said Billy Donovan will be the next head coach at UNC. Who did you say? Because you've
I said
changed.
Nate Oates.
You said Nate Oates. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it is either.
Okay, so think of a name here, and we're going to go 3, 2, and 1 in terms of the predictions on who's going to be the next coach at UNC. My first prediction was Billy Donovan. Mm-hmm. I am curious if that's going to change today. I know the answer to it, but I'm trying to stall here to give you a second or two to think of the name that you want to zero in on. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too confident right there.
There's not many options out here, man.
I think there's one of 3 choices.
Okay.
All righty. So let's go. And I'll tell you who I think the one of 3 will be. 3, 2, 1, Tommy Lloyd. You got to say the name.
I'm saying Billy Donovan still. I'm thinking Billy Donovan in my head.
Oh, my God. You said you had the name locked in.
I said it. I did.
I said
Billy Donovan.
3, 2, 1.
Billy Donovan.
Boom. Boom.
There it was.
Yeah,
Billy
you got to
Donovan.
hit it. You were like Kaden Boozer. You got
I
the
know.
ball. You didn't know what to do with it.
I know. I froze up.
Oh,
I was thinking of something. I was like, man, I kept going back and forth. I don't know who's realistically going to take this job.
I think it's 3 people. I think it could be Dusty May.
Okay.
I think it could be Billy Donovan, or I think it could be Tommy Lloyd. Here's the, if I'm Dusty May, or if I'm Tommy Lloyd, I get it. It's UNC. You got Michigan in the Final Four. Yeah. You got Arizona in the Final Four. You got the money there. I'm personally, I can't believe I'm saying this because it's UNC, for crying out loud. I'm not leaving. Oh. Now, Dusty May, he was on with us, right? He said he loves Michigan. It doesn't mean that he's definitely going to stay. But Tommy Lloyd, like just the other day, I thought it was weird in the post game how he goes, this program's going to be great. It was great before I got here. It'll be great even after one day when I leave here. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say when you punch a ticket to the Final Four. Like, I wouldn't leave if I'm him, but there's just something right now that if you said 1, 2, and 3, and I think those are the 3 names that are going to get the job. It's either going to be Dusty May, Tommy Lloyd, or it's going to be Billy Donovan. If I was running the search, my preference would be Dusty May. I think Dusty May is the best coach in the year of 2026 between the 3 of them. But if you had to make me say percentages right now, and this gets risky because I'm doing math on the fly, I'm going to say 58%. I'm going to say 58% Tommy Lloyd to be the next coach. So that leaves me with 42. I'm going to say 58%. I'm going to then say Billy Donovan at, if I say 40%, that leaves, I can't do math here on the fly. I'm not good at it.
So why are you cooling off on Billy Donovan?
I'm just thinking they're going to try to stay with the coach that's currently in college basketball.
Okay.
And right now, every time I hear Tommy Lloyd speak, I don't believe he's the guy that is definitely staying at Arizona. Like, even when Otzelberger got asked, I believed him.
Oh yeah, he shut it down.
When Tommy Lloyd got asked, I'm like, I didn't really believe him. So you know what? I'll say 38 plus 33, 71, 100 minus 71. I'm going to say 38% Tommy Lloyd, 33% Billy Donovan, and then I'm going 29% Dusty May.
That's fair.
Those would be my rough estimation numbers.
Okay.
I think Lloyd is more likely to go. I think Dusty May, he's going to have reverence for the job. Mm-hmm. But I think he's fine being that second guy in the athletic department right now, right, where the football program is still perceived to be king, and he can kind of just do his thing. And with the funds, he could play roster roulette each and every year. But the weird part is, if Tommy Lloyd wins against Dusty May, can Dusty May maybe say, well, I made a Final Four at Michigan. It's an easy place to get out. I was at a Final Four with FAU. I could see maybe that turning. But if Tommy Lloyd is in a champion, are you really going to get to a championship game, even if you lose? Or what happens if you win and you're going to leave? Like, are you really going to do that?
I mean, I don't know, dude. We saw Lane Kiffin literally quit on a playoff team in football.
Yeah, but Lane Kiffin's an ass. I don't think Tommy Lloyd's an ass.
No, he didn't seem like it. That's where I don't think he leaves Arizona. I think it's too good of a job. I think you've got the equivalent or pretty close to the same kind of backing that you're going to have if you went to North Carolina. You're not going to have near as much heat on you at Arizona, like to be consistently there and winning. I think right now, like pound for pound, like you're playing really good conference basketball players. Like I don't know, dude. I just wouldn't leave Arizona to go to North Carolina.
Two-Tone Tony is killing you already on Twitter.
I don't care.
Well, because you messed up you can't count the 3.
Oh, okay.
So he has one. He just tagged us both on Twitter.
Now.
It's good. He tagged us both. I'll retweet it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And it's you. It's you and me, and it's me just my hands up in the air. Oh, you can't count to 3.
That's actually funny as hell.
Can you count to 3?
Uno, dos, tres.
Okay, that works. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
I think in Japanese it's ich ni san.
I don't know. I remember watching Nihao Kailan with my daughter way back in the Gap, but I can't remember what they were saying.
Yeah, I think it's ich ni. I know how to do it in 10. I think it's ich ni san shi go roku shishi hachi kuju. I think is how you say it.
Oh, I would love to speak Japanese.
I took a little karate when I was a kid. They would have you count down to 10 in Japanese. Yeah, uno, dos, tres. I could do that. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
or,
we can do that.
Or 3, 2.
Oh, okay.
All righty. Let's end the show this way. From now until the draft, here are the 5 NFL storylines that I'm monitoring. And let's have a convo on this. Do you think Max Crosby, I think he's staying with the Raiders. Could it maybe get reevaluated at the trade deadline? Sure. Maybe after this season, yes. I think Crosby's going to start the season with the Raiders, but I guess that could be a storyline to monitor where is there a price the Raiders have where it's not going to be 2 1s anymore that they're going to get because the Ravens went back on the trade and they made a whole big deal over over the meniscus because they got cold feet and they said, they could just go sign Trey Hendrickson and get their 2 first-round picks back. But is there a price that a team could meet that the Raiders would say, hey, we're good, we'll depart with Max Crosby? I don't think a deal's going to happen, but I wonder if a team calls up and says, hey, we'll give you a first-round pick and maybe a third-round pick, and that third-round pick could be for next year's draft and it get converted into a 2 if he plays, I don't know, like 80% of the snaps or something like that. I wonder if there's still a price that the Raiders could have where they would say, okay, we'll trade Max Crosby before the draft.
I mean, I think legitimately there has to be, right? Because if there wasn't, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. They wouldn't have even toyed around with getting rid of him. So definitely in the back of their mind, there's an option. I just think the way things unfolded, the way Max has handled it has been really, really commending him for handling it the way he has. I think he stays in the Vegas this year. I think he's a Raider.
All right, Ty Simpson. That's another one from now into the draft. Where is he going to go? Because I don't think he should be a first-round pick. I think he absolutely will be a first-round pick. I made the prediction last week. I know that the Cardinals have the second pick in the second round. I think the Cardinals are eventually going to trade back up and go make that pick. There could be some noise about the Jets at 16. If I'm the Jets, I just wait for a quarterback in the draft next year when you got 3 first-round picks. If he's there when the Steelers are on the clock, is this going to be Kenny Pickett 2.0? That I don't know. But and I think he's better than Kenny Pickett. But you look at it, the Rams, I don't think the Rams – they don't have that pick at 29 or 30 because they gave it away in that trade for McDuffie. But they have another pick. I think it's like 13 or something like that. But still, I don't think they're going to take him that early. So there's not a ton of landing spots. I know the Browns have 2 first-round picks. Maybe they use it with the Jaguars pick. But I don't think they do either. There's not an obvious landing spot. And that's why I kind of got creative and I said, the Cardinals, they trade back up into the first round.
I'm with you. I don't think he's a first-round pick. I think somebody does get him. I'm trying to think. We did this last week. I don't know the draft order. Was it the Giant? There was a team at like 17 or 8, or I thought that we were saying could come up and get them. I don't think I think he goes the first round, but I don't think he's a first-round quarterback. I feel like we had a team.
Well, I said the Cardinals, they come back up.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. So I'll give you the draft order here real quickly. Around, you said 17 or 18?
Yeah, it was like around 17 or 18. I thought there was a team we were talking about.
17's the Lions, 18's it was probably the Jets at 16.
I think it was the Jets. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, the Steelers are at 21. The Browns are at 24.
No, they're not doing it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a trade. Oh, the Dolphins at 30.
That might have been it.
Like, would they take a quarter? But I would still say that they wait until next year to take the quarterback, especially when they just gave Malik Willis $45 million guaranteed. All right, number 3. Where's Jeremiah Love going to go in the draft? I keep on seeing stuff about Tennessee. I know Schefter said no. You keep on seeing stuff about the Giants. Some Giants fans go, oh, we drafted Saquon at 3 or 2, whatever it was. Why 2 it was. Why are we going to go draft Jeremiah Love in the top 5? I'd have no issue if Tennessee takes him at 4. I have no issue if the Giants take him at 5. Right now, I kind of feel as if your Commanders are going to get him at 7. I don't know if I'm going to stay true on that take in the next 3 or 4 weeks, because I could see maybe a team trading up to get in front of the Commanders, or maybe the Giants or Tennessee, depending on who goes 1, 2, 3. And we know that 1's going to be Mendoza, 2's going to be a pass rusher, 3 could be a pass rusher, or it could be an offensive lineman. I've even seen some people say maybe the Cardinals just take Jeremiah Love. My gut tells me that Love will probably go before 7, but right now I'm going to predict that he goes 7 to the Washington Commanders.
I would love that. I think that would be something they desperately need right now, given their backfield. Jaden needs more help. If he fell to them, yes. Are the Saints ahead of Washington?
No, the Saints are in at 8, but the Saints also just got. Let me get this correctly.
Because
Travis Achan Jr.
Yeah, Achan Jr. I think Washington's a good pick. I think he can land in Washington.
So I want to say that he's going to be a Commander. But something just tells me that he's going within the first 6 picks of the draft, which then means he won't be available at 7.
If that happens, then he's going to end up in New York. The Giants could do it, and
why can't the Titans stay? Like, if I'm Tennessee, I'm looking at that. You got your young quarterback in Cam Ward. There's not a receiver that you're going to take at 4. You got a defensive minded head coach coming on in. Don't you try to go get a guy that Derrick Henry be the face of your franchise for all those years? Can't you go try to do it with Jeremiah Love again?
You could, but I mean, if you also have like the face of your, I guess technically your franchise or your offense, and Cam Ward, if you do have a defensive head coach, I mean, right now he is on paper, he is
sure.
But like, if you're a defensive-minded head coach, would you want to stack up that side of the ball? Like, that's the only hesitation I would have with the Giants taking with Tennessee taking Jeremiah Love right there for
Aaron Rodgers. I think he'll be playing football next year. I think he'll be playing football for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but until we get that announcement from Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be something to monitor. And then also A.J. Brown. I don't think it's happening before the draft. There's an outside chance that it does happen. I guess so. I do believe that's eventually going to happen on June 1st. After June 1st, to make it easier for the Eagles to trade him via salary. I do expect him to get traded to my Patriots. But with that being said, the Patriots are picking at 31. If they draft Omar Cooper Jr. or if they draft Casey Concepcion or whoever it may be, I don't know if that takes them out of the running. But what moves do the Patriots do from now until then that maybe takes them out or maybe makes fans say, hey, they don't need to go on out and trade for A.J. Brown? I do think that when June 1 does roll around, they'll make the trade, but that is something to monitor. What happens, what dominoes falls in the NFL world from now until the draft that maybe, just maybe, makes the Patriots say, you know what, we're actually good, and they're not going to go out there and trade for A.J. Brown.
I think at this point, it almost feels inevitable that that's where he's headed. I thought the deal would have been done by now. I thought it was one of those first week things where it would have been taken care of. But it seems like also that's
it's either going to be the Patriots. It's either going to be the Patriots or the Eagles. That's what it is. That's what it is. What were you saying though? What cooled off?
It's fascinating, like how hot of a topic that was, and then all of a sudden, like it's been crickets for 2 weeks.
It's like you're going to keep. It's a boy who cried wolf. We've talked about this, so we're blue in the face, and nothing has happened. Yeah. And now everyone kind of looks at that June 1st date, and they go, okay, we'll kick the can down the road. Like, I'm exhausted and frustrated talking about the A.J. Brown thing. I just want to know what the answer is. Right. I want the answer to the test. I've sat there. I've done all the work. Now, let me know what the damn score is and how the heck did I do? Because we know that he's either going to get traded to New England or he's going to be on the Eagles. Like, if he gets traded somewhere else at this point, I'd be stunned.
Yeah.
But it seems everyone's saying, okay, just wait till June 1st now. And eventually, we've been talking about this A.J. Brown story for 3 years with the Eagles, and then it gets, okay, it's either going to be the Patriots or the Eagles. That's what it kind of is the feeling. Just let me know. That the drama is it's a little obnoxious. It's like when you watch a reality TV show for all those years, and the first 2 seasons was awesome, you get third season, it's like, how many times you got to run the same script out there?
Yeah.
And it's the same fighting over and over again. When something new happens, when we actually have news, let me know. All righty. Good job by Logan. Good job by Andrew. Good job there by Garrett, even though he couldn't count down from 3, which I thought was a little bit concerning. Big appreciation to Frank Martin joining us, the UMass head coach, formerly, obviously, of South Carolina and Kansas State. And most importantly, big thanks to each and every one of you for tuning on in. We'll talk to you tomorrow as the show does get underway, Mondays through Fridays, right at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central. We'll take you up until around 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. Always give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. On TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. And also right here, subscribe, youtube.com/@365SportsYT. Have a marvelous Monday evening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Tuesday. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.